Hello, you're watching Sky News. I'm Nick Qureshi. Here are the headlines at 1 o'clock. Tour operators begin cancelling flights and holidays to Rhodes, with thousands of holiday makers evacuated because of wildfires.
We were walking down the road at 2 o'clock in the morning and the fire was catching up with us. And I was just thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I didn't think we were going to make it.
Hundreds of firefighters are tackling the wildfires on the southwest of the island, which are expected to get worse with rising temperatures. Also this lunchtime, Sky News understands the London Mayor Sadiq Khan remains committed to the ultra-low emission zone after the policy was blamed for Labour's defeat in the Uxbridge by-election. Ukraine's President Zelensky vows to retaliate after Russian attacks on the port city of Odessa kill one and injure many others, including children. Plus, how a majority of stalking victims are missing out on crucial advice that could help secure a conviction. And a rain delay and a nervous wait for England on the final day of the must-win fourth Ashes test. Good afternoon, thank you for joining us. Ryanair and EasyJet say flights are operating as normal to Rhodes despite wildfires on the Greek island. Jet2 and TUI have both cancelled flights. They are facing criticism from holidaymakers, with tourists telling Sky News they arrived on the island only to be told they couldn't stay at the hotel they had booked, with no alternative accommodation available. Well, the Greek government says the wildfire evacuation on Rhodes is the country's largest ever, with 19,000 people moved, 16,000 by land and another 3,000 by sea. So let's take you through the current arrangements in place for airlines in and out of Rhodes as they stand. Ryanair and EasyJet flights are operating as normal, though EasyJet holidays have been cancelled until Tuesday. TUI has cancelled all flights and holidays to Rhodes up to and including Tuesday, while Jet2 has cancelled all flights and holidays as far as today is concerned, while British Airways is offering free changes to flight dates. And in the past 20 minutes or so, the Foreign Office has released advice. It says extreme temperatures are affecting many areas of Greece and there are a number of active wildfires, including in Rhodes. If you are a British national, it says, affected by wildfires on the island, then please follow the guidance from the emergency services. Call the Greek emergency services on 112 if you are in immediate danger. And that statement goes on to say, in the first instance, contact your airline or travel operator who can assist you with return travel to the UK. If you are planning to travel to Rhodes, please check with your travel operator or hotel prior to travel that the area you plan to visit is not impacted by the current wildfires. Well, as you'll know, Europe has experienced extreme hot and dry weather for most of the week, leading to the wildfires breaking out across the continent, notably in Greece. On this specific island of Rhodes, homes and hotels have been evacuated, with the southeast of the island worst affected, as Milena Vasilinovic reports.
See that little towel? From a relaxing holiday to an apocalyptic nightmare. Evacuation alerts have spread to more areas of Rhodes overnight as wildfires continue to advance. In their droves, tourists and locals have been forced to escape. Thousands have been evacuated from the island, escorted from beaches in the south and taken north.
Here I am on the rescue ship taking us to Rhodes town, leaving the hellfire behind.
British tourist Ian Morrison and his family were finally evacuated from the southeast of the island in the early hours of this morning. Speaking to Sky News from the crowded boat, he said that after walking 6 kilometres in the blazing heat to an evacuation point, they were faced with chaos and no idea how or when they would be taken to safety.
Thousands moved onto the beach. It was impossible to get onto coaches because people just ran. It was literally like the end of the world. And the flames were now far more visible. Suddenly they were leaping flames into the sky. My wife, on the other hand, was finding it incredibly stressful. And particularly when they said women and children only in the bus and I kissed them goodbye, she thought that might be the last time she saw me.
Fleeing tourists sought refuge where they could overnight. as 200 firefighters continue to tackle the blazes which started earlier this week. Annual summer forest fires across Greece have been exacerbated by an intense heat wave. Outside Athens, the blackened remains of ravaged homes, the latest casualties of a changing climate.
The evacuation of all hotels was carried out without problems to safe places, and it's estimated that more than 2,000 people have been rescued by sea.
But there is no respite. With temperatures expected to reach 45 degrees again today, Rhodes remains on the highest alert for fires. Milena Veselinovic, Sky News.
We're joined now live from Rhodes by British tourist Russell Hannah. Good to talk to you. You've been there a few days, haven't you? I guess the wildfires have been getting worse progressively.
Yes, I mean, it was basically Saturday morning. Friday, we saw some smoke coming over. And then Saturday morning, we had an announcement by the poolside to say that the ash was coming down and we should be wearing masks. So they did hand out masks to as many people, only really when we got down to the beach after evacuation. Following the ash announcement, we then had lunch. We also went back to the room slightly earlier, and then the maid burst in saying we had to pack all of our luggage and go down to evacuate to the beach. So she phoned us, and then we left halfway through lunch, packed up what we could, literally threw some things into bags, and then just went down to the beach and saw the smoke coming across. Then you could see that the helicopters were coming across, picking up water, and then dropping it across the hillside. And then slowly, as time went on, the smoke got further, and you could see it was getting a lot brighter. The sky went completely black, and then at one point, the sun was just a complete red dot, which was quite apocalyptic, really. So we were then forced to evacuate further down the beach because the fires were getting closer. And it was in about 40 to 45 degrees heat, walking down there, and with as many bags as we could pack. Some people were taking their suitcases because they'd already packed their luggage, the wheels were falling off, and they were having to try and put the suitcases on their shoulders and carry them down. We were saved very much by the locals along the pathway because they had lots of hose pipes every spotted along all the way where you could douse yourself with water and fill up water bottles. But it was quite intense. We've all got sort of like blisters and flip-flops because we couldn't grab anything else. So we eventually got to a part of the beach where we went up towards Gennady. And halfway up, we were picked up on a flatbed truck and driven up where the mayor had opened a school and asked all the locals to start ferrying people up from the beach, delivered like a truckload worth of water, and then they set out big, long barbecues for hundreds of pork kebabs for everybody, which was very nice for most people. So the mayor deserves a medal. That was very appreciated. But then it just, nothing got any better. We went on to be evacuated down to the main road because the fires were coming closer again. Waited for another couple of hours for coaches to come. Had about one, maybe two, but we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people out of the three main resorts that were being evacuated. And then following that, when the fires were coming over the top of the hill, they sent us back down to the beach again. We waited there for another couple of hours. Fires were getting closer, so we did actually take some footage of the fires lifting up into the air. And then we had another trek with all the bags and everything else along the beach before we found a path that was guided up to a main road. Took the main road to the next hotel resort, and then eventually, after being promised for about 8 hours of being picked up by coaches, some coaches did pick us up and took us to the resort we are now in the south of the island.
What a journey it seems to be. We're showing some of the footage that you have taken. What was the evacuation like? What goes through your mind when you see these fires?
Well, it was total chaos because obviously it's not known in Rhodes at all to have, I don't believe, many fires as bad as this. And to take us there, the staff were great, but obviously you had the restaurant manager, your front of house staff. And that trying to direct people. But it was, it was trying to carry everything and get away from the fires as quickly as possible. So, it was waiting for the coaches that were promised. We were told there were 17 coaches on the way, but they had to go around the island because of the fires. and we would be picked up soon. But we waited and waited, and then we had to evacuate to different parts of the beach before we were eventually picked up. We got here about 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning, so we got some sleep about 3. Woke up, we slept on the floor on the marble. There was just hundreds and hundreds of people across the resort, all sleeping on anything they could find. Some beds, the lounges, the chairs, the floors. Everyone was trying to charge phones to keep in connection with anybody. And that was another thing. Throughout the whole period of time, the electricity failed, so we were waiting in the dark. Only headlights driving past, and that was our form of light and torches. And then, eventually we managed to get some sort of connectivity and try and find out what was going on before we saw bulletins from Sky and then the rest of the news channels.
Goodness, it sounds quite chaotic and a catalogue of problems for you. Have you been concerned, very, very worried in the past 24 hours?
Well, yeah, the family have been very concerned. Small children were crying. They were very upset having to wait and not knowing what's going on. They were saying, which coaches, when's the coach turning up, when it will be collected. So they were very distraught at the time. We were told we just had to wait, and which we did. But things weren't turning up, so we were actually wondering if we were going to be there all night, basically. The last place we saw the fire licking over the hills and coming even closer, and then started to get more worrying, and the smoke and the ash was coming down again even further.
When the smoke comes towards you, you like that comes closer. What goes through your mind?
Well, you're very concerned because people wearing masks. They don't want to breathe the ash in. They're told that the ash is damaging their lungs. The whole scene went black to start with earlier on in the day, and then obviously the smoke blocked out any light whatsoever. That might have been a sort of a help in one way, as we were trying to evacuate down the path, and the sun was being immediately blocked out. So that was some help. But to see the fire coming further and further over and having to evacuate further and further across the island, it was worrying for most concerned.
What goes through your mind now? Are you in a place of relative safety?
They've confirmed that where we are now in the very south of the island at this resort is safe. So we've been waiting to try and see what happens about getting a coach. We're not with one of the main operators. We're with another well-known operator, which we've had no help whatsoever. So the main operator that has hotels in this resort have shipped out all of their guests to evacuation centres.
All right, I think we've persevered, and I think the line's just dropped out there. But Russell, Hannah, many thanks indeed for joining us, and thank you for sharing the images there. Sadia is with me now. We can see how dramatic those fires have been by the footage that Russell was sharing. And time again, so many people we've heard from, lack of communication seems to be paramount, and quite a chaotic evacuation. So many people have had to move, so you might expect a bit of panic and pandemonium, but it's that communication, that those channels, isn't it, that they're not being told what's going on.
Yeah, it's not very clear. And if you just looked at where Russell was sitting with the blue skies behind him and the palm trees, it is, deceiving to think about what he's had to flee from. And it is perhaps explainable that some flights are carrying on as normal. We've heard from EasyJet and Ryanair this morning saying that their flights are operating as normal, but they are urging customers to have a look at both flight tracker websites and also government websites to just check everything before they travel. Some airlines are having to cancel all of their bookings. Some holiday companies are cancelling bookings. Others are sending out empty flights to bring back stranded passengers. So there is a little bit of conflict on, is it safe to travel out there? Is it safe to remain there? How should we get out? And we've heard lots of conflicting reports. Some officials in Greece are saying that actually people were evacuated very normally and smoothly, but we've heard from holiday goers who they have themselves told us that things were really chaotic. There was hysteria. Someone explaining that there were lots of people who were confused about what was happening. And we just heard from Russell Hannah, they're talking about how they were told to wait and wait and wait, and there's a lot of confusion, and some people saying that they had to make that decision very late on by themselves. They're having to rely on their own sort of sources of information because nothing is that clear. But the British ambassador to Greece has said that the Foreign Office has sent a rapid deployment a team to go and help people who are stranded there. And we know that at the airport on Rhodes Island, there are specific help desks set up to help people because lots of people